Hi everyone, myself Dr. P. Ashok Babu. So in this video, I am going to discuss about the electric flux density. What is electric flux density? A continuity equation, relaxation time, and different medias. We'll define the different medias. First of all, we'll define the dielectric constant and dielectric strength. So what is a dielectric constant and what is a dielectric strength? So here the dielectric, we can define the electric flux density. We know that electric field intensity E is there and D can be known as electric flux density. Electric flux density. D is known as the electric flux density. E is the electric field intensity. Electric field intensity. So here we have expression D is equal to epsilon E. Here we will prove the D is equal to epsilon E. So first of all, the electric flux density D is known as electric flux density. It can be defined as it is a epsilon naught E plus P. Epsilon naught into E plus P, where P is the dipole momentum. And for some dielectrics, P is proportional to the applied electric field, where it is P directly proportional to applied electric field. The dipole moment is directly proportional to the electric field. And we can express the dipole moment as P is equal to zeta into epsilon naught into E, where zeta is known as the electric susceptibility, of a given material. So here if you substitute equation 2 in equation 1, then we can have D is equal to, here it is, D is equal to, it is epsilon E plus, in place of P, we can substitute zeta E, epsilon naught E. So if you take a common of epsilon naught in the equation, you can have D is equal to epsilon naught into, it is E plus zeta E. How? G plus 1, we have into E. D is equal to epsilon naught into E plus zeta E into E. Again, we can take common of E also. Therefore, D is equal to E into epsilon naught into 1 plus zeta E. Where zeta E is the susceptibility. Therefore, we can express D is equal to E into E epsilon naught into epsilon R, where epsilon R is nothing but 1 plus zeta E. Where epsilon R is nothing but the 1 plus zeta E. Where we can write D is equal to, here we have equation D is equal to E into epsilon naught into epsilon R, or simply we can express D is equal to epsilon into E, where epsilon is nothing but epsilon is equal to epsilon naught into epsilon R. Or we can write epsilon R is equal to, we have here epsilon R equal to, we have assumed it as 1 plus zeta E, where 1 plus zeta E is equal to, we can write epsilon by epsilon naught, where epsilon R can be, it is a relative permittivity. Epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. So here the relative permittivity epsilon R can be defined as, it is a ratio of permittivity, to the dielectric, permittivity of the dielectric medium to the permittivity of free space. The relative permittivity is defined as the ratio of permittivity to the permittivity of free space. Therefore, epsilon R equal to epsilon by epsilon naught. So here it is nothing but the dielectric constant. And here we can define the dielectric field strength. The dielectric field strength is the maximum electric field. A dielectric field strength is the maximum electric field that a dielectric can tolerate or withstand without electric breakdown. It is known as the dielectric strength. So here it can be, the dielectric strength can be defined as, the dielectric strength is the maximum electric field that a dielectric can tolerate or withstand without electric breakdown. So this is about the dielectric constant and dielectric strength of a material. Next, so we'll define the different type of media. So what is a linear, what is a isotropic, what is a homogeneous medium, what is a dielectric medium. Like that we will define the different types of medium. First of all, a material is said to be linear if the electric flux density D, the electric flux density D varies linearly with electric field intensity E, and non-linear otherwise. If D doesn't vary with electric field intensity E, then we can call the material as a non-linear material. A materials for which epsilon or sigma, materials for which epsilon or sigma, not vary in the region, does not vary in the region, being considered and is therefore the same at all points, that is independent of the x, y, z coordinates, are said to be homogeneous medium. So it means, let us assume a medium. So in that medium, if epsilon or sigma does not vary in all throughout the area, then we can call the material as a homogeneous media. If you assume the epsilon or sigma in the particular area, at any point sigma or epsilon does not vary with the region, then that media is known as a homogeneous media. If epsilon or sigma does not independent, it is independent of the x, y, z coordinates, then we can call the material as a homogeneous medium. So they are said to be inhomogeneous or non-homogeneous when epsilon is dependent on the space coordinates x, y, z. If the epsilon depend on the space coordinates x, y, z, then we can call the material as a inhomogeneous material. So the atmosphere is a typical example of inhomogeneous medium. Atmosphere is a example of inhomogeneous medium. Next, material for which D and E are in the same direction, then the material is said to be isotropic material. For a material, if the electric field intensity E and electric flux density D are both in the same direction, then we can call the material as a isotropic material. A dielectric material is a dielectric material. Let us assume a dielectric material. A dielectric material is linear if epsilon does not change with the applied field. If epsilon does not change with the applied electric field, it is a homogeneous if epsilon does not change from point to point, and isotropic if epsilon does not change with the direction. So this is about the three types of materials: linear material, isotropic material, and homogeneous material. Next, so we'll discuss important derivation. There is a continuity equation and relaxation time. So here, from the principle of charge conservation, the time rate of decrease of charge. So here it is minus d by dt of qn. This is nothing but the time rate of negative sign indicates the decrease. Therefore, the time rate of decrease of charge qn. The time rate of decrease of charge within a given volume must be equal to the net outward current flow. Therefore, we can write I out is equal to minus dq by dt. So here negative sign indicates the decrease of charge, where d by dt of q is the change of charge, time rate of charge. So which is equal to the net outward current. Therefore, here we can express the equation as the net outward current I out is equal to, which is nothing but the integral j into ds, integral current density ds, which is equal to minus dq in by dt, where q in is the total charge enclosed by the closed surface. So here, if you apply divergence theorem to the middle part, of the equation 1, so here it is a surface integral. If you apply divergence theorem to the surface integral, the surface integral will convert to the volume integral. Therefore, surface integral j into ds is equal to volume integral del dot j into dou v. Dv. Therefore, you can here write the time rate of charge. You can write the time rate of charge as minus dq by dt, which is equal to minus d by dt. So in place of charge, here I am assuming volume charge density. So if we assume the volume charge density, the equation becomes minus d by dt of volume integral rho v into dv, where rho v is the volume charge density, or it can be expressed as minus volume integral into. So if we bring the d by dt into the integration, it becomes dou rho v by dou t into dv. Let us assume it is equation 3. Next, so here substitute the equation 2 in equation 3. So here if you substitute the equation 2 is the in place of surface integral j into ds, we can substitute volume integral del dot j into rho v del dot j into dv, which is equal to minus volume integral dou rho v by dou t into dv. So if we compare the two equations, then we can write del dot j is equal to minus dou by dou t of rho v. Del dot j is equal to minus dou by dou t of rho v, which is called the let us assume it is equation 4. Equation 4 is known as continuity equation. Equation 4 is known as a continuity equation, or it is called the continuity of current equation. Continuity of current equation. For steady state currents, let us assume for steady state current means the charge is constant. When the charge is constant, here the volume charge density rho v becomes 0. Therefore, when charge is constant, dou rho v by dou t is equal to 0. When dou rho v by dou t is equal to 0, here we can write del dot j is equal to 0. The equation becomes del dot j is equal to 0. For steady state currents, because the charge is constant, dou by dou t of rho v, volume charge density is equal to 0. Therefore, del dot j is equal to 0. So it shows that the del dot j equal to 0 shows that the total charge leaving a volume is the same as the total charge entering the junction. So the Kirchhoff's current law it follows from this equation del dot j equal to 0. Kirchhoff's current law will follows the del dot j equal to 0, where del dot j equal to 0 states that the total charge leaving a volume, is the same as the total charge entering the volume. Therefore, the current, already we know that the current density J is equal to sigma E. We know that the current density J is equal to sigma E. From Gauss law, we have del dot D is equal to rho V by epsilon, where D is nothing but E into epsilon. We can write del dot E is equal to, you can write rho V by epsilon. Del dot E is equal to, you can write the rho V by epsilon, where rho V is again volume charge density. Substitute equation 1 in equation 2. So if you substitute equation 1, where is equation 1 is J equal to sigma E. If you substitute J equal to sigma E in equation 2, then in equation 2 means here it is in place of epsilon, already we know that del dot J. So del dot J is equal to minus dou rho V by dou T. We know that del dot J is equal to minus dou rho V by dou T. Therefore, in place of J, if you substitute J is equal to sigma E here, del dot sigma E is equal to, and here in place of already you know that del dot E is equal to, you know that rho V by epsilon. Del dot E is equal to rho V by epsilon. Therefore, it becomes sigma into rho V by epsilon. The equation becomes sigma into, here we have del dot J, but J is nothing but sigma E. Therefore, the equation becomes del dot sigma E, and we know that the del dot E, sigma E into sigma, del dot E is equal to, we know that rho V by epsilon. Therefore, it becomes sigma into rho V by epsilon, which is equal to minus dou rho V by dou T, which is equal to minus dou rho V by dou T. If rearrange the equation, it is dou rho V by dou T plus sigma rho V by epsilon is equal to 0. Then by separating the variables, if you separate the variables, dou rho V by dou T is equal to minus sigma by epsilon into rho v, or we can write dou rho v by rho v. Dou rho v by rho v is equal to minus sigma by epsilon into dou t. Then if you apply logarithm on both, integrate on both sides, if you integrate on both sides, if you apply integration on both sides, so it is dou rho v by rho v. Therefore, directly we can write log rho v, which is equal to, so here it is minus sigma by epsilon into dou t, minus sigma by epsilon into t plus logarithm of rho v naught, where rho v naught is a constant of integration, where rho v naught is a constant of integration. So here we can rearrange that equation as, so it is log rho v minus log rho v naught is equal to minus sigma t by epsilon, or we can express it as log rho v by rho v naught is equal to minus sigma t by epsilon. It is log means here we have exponential term, therefore it is rho v by rho v naught is equal to e power minus sigma t by epsilon, or you can write rho v is equal to rho v naught into e power minus sigma t by epsilon. So it is the expression. So therefore rho v is equal to, we can write rho v naught into e power minus sigma into t by epsilon. So here we can express, we can rearrange that equation as, it is rho v is equal to rho v naught into, it is e power minus t by sigma by epsilon by sigma. So here in place of sigma by epsilon, we can write the capital dr. Therefore the equation becomes volume charge density rho v is equal to, it is rho v naught into e power minus t by capital dr, where capital dr is a, where tr is a rise time, where tr is equal to epsilon by sigma, where tr is epsilon by sigma. Tr is a relaxation time or rearrangement time, where tr can be defined as a relaxation time or rearrangement time. That is relaxation time, tr is equal to epsilon by sigma. You can define the relaxation time, tr is equal to, it is epsilon by sigma. It is a ratio of permittivity to the conductivity. So it can be defined as, relaxation time is the time it takes a charge placed in the interior of a material to drop to e power minus 1 times, or e power minus 1 time is, it is 36.8% of its initial value, which is known as the relaxation time or rearrangement time. Relaxation time can be defined as, it is the time it takes a charge, placed in the interior of a material to drop to e power minus 1 times of its initial value, or 36.8 times of 8% of its initial value. Then the time is known as a relaxation time. So here the relaxation time is short for the good conductor materials, and it is long for the good dielectric material. So as an example, here we can observe the relaxation time for a good conductor copper material and a good dielectric quartz material. So here a copper is a good conductor, which is having the conductivity sigma is equal to 5.8 into 10 power 7 and epsilon are equal to 1. And here a quartz material, dielectric material, which is having the conductivity, it is 5.8 into 10 power minus 17. So here if you observe the relaxation time of these two materials, conductor and dielectric, for conductor the relaxation time is 1.53 into 10 power minus 9 seconds. So whereas for good dielectric, the relaxation time is, it is 51.2 days. Therefore we can conclude that the relaxation time is low for good conductor and relaxation time is high for a good dielectric material. Next we will see the Poisson's and Laplace equations. So after discussing the relaxation time and continuity equation, we will discuss the Poisson's equation and Laplace equation. So here Poisson's and Laplace equations both are derived from the Gauss law only. So we know that the Gauss law, del dot D, we know that del dot D is equal to rho v. So in place of D, where D is the electric flux density, D is equal to, we have epsilon into E. Therefore we can write del dot epsilon E is equal to rho v, or del dot E is equal to rho v by epsilon. Here we can substitute E is equal to minus del V also. We know that E is equal to minus del V. We have the relation E is equal to minus del V. So if you substitute E is equal to minus del V in the equation, it is del dot minus del V is equal to rho V by epsilon, or it is minus del square V is equal to rho V by epsilon, or simply we can express the equation as del square V. Del square V is equal to minus rho V by epsilon. Del square V equal to minus rho V by epsilon. This equation is known as the Poisson's equation. This equation is known as Poisson's equation. Del square V is equal to minus rho V by epsilon is known as the Poisson equation. So as a special case of this Poisson's equation, we can substitute rho V is equal to 0, or for steady currents, we can substitute rho V is equal to 0. For steady current means the volume charge density, we can assume the rho V is equal to 0. So if you assume rho V is equal to 0, the equation becomes del square V is equal to 0. When the equation becomes del square V equal to 0, the equation is known as a Laplace equation. Del square V equal to 0 is known as a Laplace equation. Del square V equal to minus rho V by epsilon is known as the Poisson's equation. So here we can define the Poisson's and Laplace equation. Both are from the Gauss law only. So this is about the Poisson's equation and Laplace equation. Okay, thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.